Nigeria and Niger Republic agree to strengthen institutions to facilitate socio-economic development.
Another area we intend to work together with our friends and neighbors, particularly in the Republic, is the menace of illegal migration and human trafficking.
President Buhari acknowledges receipt of Amnesty International report on Nigeria's war against Boko Haram.
And head of service of the Federation assures Nigerians have sustained governmental activities even in the absence of cabinet ministers.
Hearing officers will definitely face the consequences of such a breach.
Well, Clark, well, it's on Good Morning Nigeria today. We are taking a look at the issues surrounding corruption allegations against officials and related operatives of the International Federation of Association Football, popularly known also as FIFA. Claire?
All right, of course, Kingsley, the International Federation of Association Football, FIFA, of course, as we all know, is the international governing body of the world's most popular sports, soccer, comprising 209 national football associations. Now, FIFA is responsible for the organization of football's major international tournaments, notably the World Cup, which commenced in 1930, and of course, the Women's World Cup, which commenced in 1991.
Well, Claire, as you rightly said, FIFA is responsible for both the organization and promotion of a number of tournaments worldwide. And these tournaments generate huge revenues, not only from sponsorship, but also from the marketing. In other words, the broadcast rights that often accompany these tournaments. Now, for instance, in 2013, FIFA had revenues of over 1.3 billion US dollars for a net profit of $72 million. And it had cash reserves of over 1.4 billion US dollars. Now, for last year's World Cup, which took place in Brazil, FIFA is reported to have made a profit of about 2 billion US dollars. Now, Claire, as the saying goes, money is the root cause of many, or if not most evils. Now, there have been many reports in the past fingering, if you like, allegations of corruption against officials of FIFA. These allegations have to do with not only the bidding for most global tournaments of FIFA, in particular the World Cup, which takes place every 4 years. There have also been allegations of vote rigging in the organizations and in the bidding and voting for the organization of a number of those tournaments. Okay. But essentially, probably what has come to a head now, allegations relating to the award of the 2018 FIFA World Cup, which is taking place in Russia, and the 2022 World Cup, which is taking place in Qatar. Now, the allegations of corruption have been blown open by the FBI, that's the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States.
Of course, Kingsley, these allegations culminated in the indictment of 9 high-ranking FIFA officials and 5 corporate executives. And charges include racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering. Now, on May 27 this year, several of these officials were taken into custody for questioning by Swiss authorities. Meanwhile, the Swiss authorities are also carrying out simultaneous but separate criminal investigations into how the organization, that's FIFA, of course, awarded the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. And of course, as Kingsley said, that will be taking place in Russia and Qatar, respectively. Now, every decaying institution rots from the head. It was therefore not surprising to many that Sepp Blatter announced that he will resign as president of the corruption-ridden football governing body. Now, it's the 79-year-old Swiss who was re-elected last week for another 5-year term. I'm sure, as you know, has called for an extraordinary Congress as soon as possible to elect a new president.
Well, questions are already floating around that's with regard to the principal objective, or if you like, the instigation for the current expose of corruption, alleged corruption in FIFA. And many are asking the question whether the current travails of FIFA as a result of a witch hunt or vendetta after the United States and England lost out of the 2018 and 2022 World Cup bids, or are the officials of FIFA actually corrupt as alleged? Now, beyond all of this, how can FIFA be entrusted to ensure that there is no corruption in the selection of venues of competition, and no bribery of officials, in other words, no match fixing, as well as, of course, the influence of betting syndicates. Now, the stench of alleged corruption in FIFA, has implications worldwide for the round leather game, especially on several continents where football has picked up considerably in recent times. What is the future of FIFA after all is, as the saying goes, said and done? In other words, after the prosecution and, if you like, conviction, if any, of persons who have been alleged to have participated in the racketeering.
All right, Kingsley, and how about the image problem? Will FIFA be the same again? That's $1 million question. We shall also be seeking answers to the questions that Kingsley earlier read out, and many other very pertinent questions in the course of our program. I am Claire Adelabo Abdul Razak. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, and it's coming to you live on the network service of the NTA here in Abuja, the nation's capital city.
Well, and how about the image problem, Claire? As you already said, these are the issues again that will take, engage our attention rather at this morning. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I join Claire in welcoming you to today's edition of the program. We'll have our regular segments, which will be newspaper review, business, foreign, and arts and entertainment. We're going over now to Hawa Saliu Adama for the morning news.
Well, I'm sure Hawa is not a football fan. So Hawa, are you a football fanatic?
Well, not a fan, but at least I have somebody at home that I need to support.
Oh, really?
I hope you do too.
Who is that?
Of course, Mr. Adama. Anyway, good morning and thanks for joining us on the news segment. President Muhammadu Buhari has commenced a 2-day official visit to the Republic of Niger with commitment by the two leaders to strengthening institutions that will facilitate socio-economic development of the two countries. He was received on arrival by his host, President Yusufu Mamadou. President Buhari was accorded a rousing welcome at the airport, where he was entertained by the different cultural troops. It is the first official trip outside Nigeria by President Muhammadu Buhari to any country after inauguration.
Our friends and neighbors, particularly in the Nigerian Republic, is the menace of illegal migration and human trafficking. Niger, as a major transit point, has had to commit huge resources to curb the trend. Nigeria will support the new initiative by the European Union and other stakeholders aimed at combating the menace of illegal immigration and human trafficking.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has acknowledged receipt of the Amnesty International report on Nigeria titled Nigeria, Stories of Horror in Their Own Words. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, in a statement in Niamey, Niger Republic, says President Buhari has received the report, which he says contains many disturbing allegations. The statement says President Buhari promises that his administration will study the document and act appropriately. He says without meaning to preempt the outcome of any investigation, Nigerians needed to be reassured that his administration will leave no stone unturned in promoting the rule of law and deal with all cases of human rights abuses. And in the wake of the unfortunate fuel tanker accident in the commercial city of Onitsha last Sunday, Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo has led a federal government delegation on a sympathy visit to the government and people of Anambra State. Hamza Musa Makarfi reports that the state governor, Willie Obiano, who received the vice president, says 42 people lost their lives while 17 others are hospitalized.
Pray Almighty God that this kind of tragedy will never repeat itself in this land, in the name of the Lord Jesus.
Amen.
Let it be, O God, that the people of Anambra State will enjoy peace and joy. Amen. Year after year, day after day. As a matter of fact, the governor and I have been speaking about the possible areas where we can cooperate and where we can assist the state government. And that consultation is important because it's a clearer way of being able to identify what the real problems are. Once we're able to identify what those specific areas are, I'm sure that the government will take all necessary steps to assist Anambra State. There are several areas, not just one, not just one.
President Muhammadu Buhari has been given the go-ahead by the Senate to appoint 15 special advisors to assist him perform his functions. It was the president's first request to the National Assembly since assumption of office, and the approval by the lawmakers was unanimous. The Senate also passed for third reading a bill seeking to make comprehensive provisions for the confiscation, forfeiture, and management of properties derived from unlawful activities. Adamu Sambo reports that the Sexual Offences Bill seeking to redefine and consolidate existing laws on sexual offences in Nigeria was also passed.
NTA, against NA, the ayes have it.
And still from the National Assembly, the acting Speaker, House of Representatives, Emeka Ihedioha, at Wednesday's plenary announced the passing of the member representing Katsina Central Federal Constituency, Sheikh Umar Abubakar. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Okafor reports that the mood of the House reflected the sad loss which occurred early Wednesday morning.
Sad event took place in his hometown in Katsina, early hours of this morning. The late honorable member is a serving member of this 7th Assembly.
I have known him outside politics because we are from the same state. He has always provided that leadership for us, the younger ones. And within the chambers of National Assembly, he has been very vibrant. Working relationship with people, excellent. It's a bridge builder. It's a completely detribalized Nigerian.
And in the meantime, newly elected legislators of the 8th National Assembly have been tasked to use all available and legitimate means at their disposal for effective discharge of their duties. Ranking lawmakers and other experts gave the charge at a retreat organized ahead of the June 9th inauguration of the 8th National Assembly. It was aimed at further preparing the new legislators for the task of new lawmaking.
We're here to work closely with all of you.
You were elected by people from an area representing their interests. Number one, an effective media relationship management is indeed a necessity. The NTA Parliament is first-hand information and vital knowledge of parliamentary processes.
I intend to sponsor bills and motions that will have positive impact.
To educate us to know how to be able to represent effectively.
Away from National Assembly matters, the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Boboye Oyeyemi, has directed a strict enforcement of safety standards on petroleum tankers. The Corps Marshal gave the directive while reacting to the crash in Onitsha, Anambra State, which claimed many lives, as well as that of Iyano, which led to the destruction of several vehicles. Boboye Oyeyemi, who noted that the two incidents threw the nation into mourning with enormous economic losses, added that the wreckage caused by the crashes had been cleared and normalcy returned to the areas. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has called on the present administration to enhance the full takeoff of state chapters of the agency. The Director General of NEMA, Sani Sidi, while briefing journalists in Abuja, says this is the only way to guarantee swift response and effective coordination of emergencies across the country.
Agency. Of course, NEMA, the way we are supposed to operate is when a situation is beyond the coping capacity of a local government emergency management committee, then the state government will come in and support their effort. And when this situation is beyond the coping capacity of a state emergency management committee, then the federal government will come in with all its resources and all its might to support the effort of the state government.
The absence of ministers and ministries will not affect government activities. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Nladi Kifasi, gave the assurance at a press conference in Abuja.
Hearing officers will definitely face the consequences of such a breach.
And talking sports, and on an encouraging note, Nigeria's under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles, this morning won their second Group E match against Korea Democratic Republic at the ongoing FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Switzerland. Here are some of the highlights of the match that ended 4-0 against the Korean Democratic Republic.
Cash management for the government.
When the electronic mode of collection becomes fully operational, it will reduce the overall cost of handling cash and risk of cash-related crimes, as well as block leakages and increase transparency in the current tax regime. The CBN said modalities are at the final stage of smooth operations of the Treasury single account. OPEC oil ministers expressed optimism on Wednesday about their strategy of pumping more crude oil and fighting for market share amid expectations they will stick to their product target when they meet at the end of the week. Saudi oil minister Ali Al-Naimi told an oil and gas seminar hosted by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries in the Australian capital that in terms of the global trends of energy outlook, the future looks very positive and the global economy is growing. The world oil market is closely watching OPEC's activities in Vienna this week as the cartel prepares to gather on Friday to decide on production levels. OPEC ministers from Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates spoke Wednesday morning at the cartel seminar along with energy CEOs and industry watchdogs. Sohail Mohammed Faraj Al-Mazrouei, the United Arab Emirates oil minister, said OPEC is comfortable with the course it took last November, maintaining production levels even when prices were falling. That decision shocked the oil market, sending prices plunging to below $47 a barrel in January for Brent's benchmark crude from highs from early $115 a barrel last summer. OPEC has generally responded to weak prices with production cuts to crimp supply. And finally, the Nigerian Stock Exchange traded south midweek as the market lost modest gains recorded in the two previous sessions. The all-share index lost 0.54% during the session. Up next is a graphic summary. Morning Nigeria would continue. My name is Leah Katungbaba Tunde. Thanks for watching.
All right, thank you very much there, Leah Katungbaba today for the business package. We are taking a short break now. When we return, we'll review the headlines into these newspapers.
Nigeria, Ariel claims to give us the best stain removal in one wash. So we'll collect tough stains, red sand, fruit juice, to see which gives the best stain removal in one wash. We'll wash one half with Ariel and the other with the other peanut detergent. With the other peanut detergent remove the stains. And Ariel, best stain removal in Nigeria in one wash.
To up to 100 illness-causing germs every day.
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on my Dettol to fight germs. It's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. My Dettol disinfects surfaces and clothes, keeping them clean and safe from germs.
A hectic lifestyle or overeating can cause a burning pain in your chest. That's heartburn. Take Gaviscon. One dose relieves in 3 minutes to soothe the pain of heartburn. It goes straight to the source to work for hours, providing long-lasting relief.
That's why I recommend Gaviscon.
I recommend Gaviscon.
Gaviscon, fast relief you can actually feel.
If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor.
The body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection with added menthol to protect from germs. Cool gives you maximum protection against germs every day from head to toes and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol. Be 100% sure.
All right, up next is the newspaper review. Stay with us.
As usual, Bayo Atoyobi, the Good Morning Nigeria newspaper reviewer, is with us in the studios for today's edition. Bayo, welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning.
Okay. That's right. The obvious front pager in most of the papers that we have this morning has to do with the record-breaking passage of some 46 bills by the Senate yesterday. Now, let me begin with the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune has as its lead story, Senate passes 46 bills in 10 minutes. That's Nigerian Tribune. Senate passes 46 bills in 10 minutes, approves 15 special advisors for Buhari. Details of this story can be found on pages 2 and 6. Now, just below the name flag of Nigerian Tribune, kidnappers abduct Ondo Regent and 3 others. Details on page 14. Sheriff, ex-Borno governor in EFCC custody. And Buhari capable of leading Nigeria. That's according to Edwin Clark. And PDP Fayoshe supporters maintain vigilance in Ekiti. Details are on page 8. Families of Dana crash victims drag federal government and airline before U.S. court. And crash report now ready. That's according to the Accident Investigation Bureau. And then, of course, you have at the foot of the front page there, service chiefs guilty of war crimes. That's a claim by Amnesty International. Report a blackmail, according to the military. And Army Advance Party moves to Borno tomorrow. And Boko Haram kills 14 in fresh Maiduguri blast. Details on pages 4, 6, and 7 inside the Tribune. Claire.
Okay, the Nation is next. And the Nation leads with the report CBN officials South Africa, Nigeria court told. Now, there is a picture of some of the EFCC operatives leading some of the suspects in the 8 billion Naira CBN officials fraud to the court premises in Ibadan yesterday. That's the picture story you see there. And of course, part of the 15-count charge, it's listed underneath that picture story. Now, underneath, if you come just below the picture story, you have Buhari vows to track and destroy evil Boko Haram. Buhari vows to track and destroy evil Boko Haram. And just other stories, adjoining stories. The Nigerian troops to take over liberated towns on the left corner there. And on the right, you had gunmen kill French tourists, injure wife. And this incident happened in Ebonyi State. And okay, those are some of the stories.
Okay, next paper is National Mirror. National Mirror says above its nameplate, 8 billion naira fraud. That's the kicker. Multi-billion naira assets traced to CBN, other banks, officials. And that's on the front page there. Now, also a story headline that says of shops forced us into street trading. Details are on page 47. Lead story again has a headline: Senate makes history, passes 46 bills in 10 minutes. And OK's Buhari's request for 15 advisors. Again, customs beat 8 FAN staff to coma at Lagos Airport. FAN stands for the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. Now, Nigerian army capable of routing Boko Haram. That's according to President Buhari. Details on page 4. And insurgency. Amnesty accuses top military officers of war crime. French couple killed in Ebonyi. Details on page 49. And waiting endlessly for speed and light rail transportation is a feature story inside the paper. Claire.
Okay, and to Vanguard we turn. Vanguard leads with the story, I renew my pledge to crush Boko Haram. And this is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. It's the front page story there. It has two writers. 5 years of this evil sect is enough, he says. And Minima Bade Amosu relocates to Maiduguri tomorrow. And a picture story making the front page also. As I said earlier on, EFCC operatives leading fresh suspects in the 8 billion Naira CBN staff fraud to court in Ibadan yesterday. And below that, Senate passes 46 bills in 10 minutes. That's a story that is trending in almost all the papers. And just below there, alleged 300 billion Naira fraud, ex-Borno governor Sharif surrenders to EFCC. And war crimes, Nigeria, Amnesty International trade words. Kingsley Bayo, I have my Mr. and Mrs. today I'd like to read. Listen to this. Whenever, there's the man talking now. Whenever I give you money for the market, you exhaust everything. You will never change. And the woman says, okay, I'm ready to change. You go to the market, buy the food stuff and cook. I'll be waiting at the dining table.
Right.
Nobody's talking.
The next paper for us is the Nigerian pilot. The Nigerian pilot has some of the headlines are, of course, similar to the ones that we have read, including this passage of 46 bills in one sitting. That's a record. That's probably a world record. Bio, you can probably go into the Guinness Book of Records. 10 minutes, 46 bills passed. President Buhari should watch out when those bills get to him for signature. Now, let's take the front page, the foot of the front page of Nigerian pilot, where we have a number of headlines. Probe request, Amnesty International blackmailing military. That's according to the defense headquarters. I can fix Nigeria's problems, Buhari insists. Now, Abuja loses 500 million naira weekly to fuel scarcity. Couple 8 others die in Rivers after drinking local gin. From Ondo to Rivers now. And then we have no candidates for Senate President and Deputy, says PDP. Details are inside the paper. Claire.
Yes, Kingsley. The report in some of the papers we have says those victims died after eating dog meat, which is known as no, in Rivers they call it a tiaba. Yes,
okay, so, for
it's a cross river, other parts of the game.
Okay, well that's fine, but it's unfortunate. But this one says local Eugene. And then the Daily Sun has similar headlines as well. The allegation by Amnesty International, and then passage of Senate bill. Now, on the fuel fire, Anambra bans fuel tankers from day operation. Anambra bans fuel tankers from day operation. And then Buhari, we've started process of ending insurgency meets Nigerians in the Niger Republic. Air Rufai sacks 23 local government chairmen in Kaduna. Details are on page 7.
Okay, I also have a Daily Trust, my last paper, but has a similar headline that runs through all the papers. It's on the Amnesty International report on the Nigerian military seeking proof of some of the military commanders. And of course, the Nigerian military has also responded by saying that that report is intended to blackmail it, coming from defense headquarters. That's okay. So you have any other paper? Okay, Bayo, it's over to you now.
Thank you very much. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari may be on his way to N'Djamena, Chad now, after first visiting Niger yesterday. The president said that apart from ordering the command and control to move to the war base, he is looking for a quick end to the insurgency, and that is why he had come to discuss with his counterpart, President Issa Muhammadu. President Issa Muhammadu was very grateful that Niger is the first place of visit by President Buhari, and he pledged support of Niger to fight insurgency. Meanwhile, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo was in Anambra to commiserate with the people of Anambra over the tanker incident. He conveyed that President Buhari would have been there in person but for his visit to Chad and Niger. At the occasion, Governor Obiano announced the prohibition of heavy-duty tankers and trailers from operating in daytime. About 70 people have lost their lives in that fire. However, the petroleum tanker drivers of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum Workers and Natural Gas Workers Union yesterday banned members from driving their tankers at night. A statement by Comrade Atada Adebayo says, in the light of the worrisome increase in incidents involving petroleum tankers, the union has directed that it will impound any petrol tanker that operates at night. It is safer for tankers to move in daytime in such instances of accidents, damage could be minimized because a lot of people will be around. Amnesty International has raised hue and cry, alleging that current and former service chiefs and war commanders have committed judicial killings of about 1,200 and also 7,000 persons have died in detention. Amnesty says this from a book, a 129-page book it published. Defense Headquarters has described the latest Amnesty claim as a continuation of deliberate blackmail to tarnish the reputation of the armed forces. Major General Chris Okolade lamented that the organization comes up loudly against the military whenever the terrorists are losing grounds. Already, President Muhammadu Buhari had acknowledged receiving the report and has promised that it will study it. What I found curious, however, Kingsley and Claire, is the fact that this is a war against terrorism, and the terrorists are reported to have committed several atrocities, killing and maiming, and there is no mention in the Amnesty report about the atrocities of the terrorists. That is what I find most curious about this. If in any war you have two parties, if you have found fault with one party, what happens to the other party? To my mind, the report seems to be one-sided.
Well, your question is pertinent. And yesterday, the spokesman of the defense, that's the defense spokesman, Major General Chris Olukolade, he raised the point that it is usually, and we have seen that in the past couple of years, when the Nigerian military is gaining the upper hand against insurgents, that you have this kind of reports, usually from Amnesty, alleging war crimes. Now, is this to intimidate? Is this to frighten the Nigerian military of possible prosecution? And as you rightly said, Bayo, what about the atrocities, the very well-known atrocities of Boko Haram, some of which they actually put on the video and then send out to the wider public?
You recall also that the first time Burma came under serious insurgent attack, there were reprisals from the army to repel them. And the same Amnesty came with a report alleging that they had a satellite photograph pointing out that over 2,000 houses were razed in Burma. And later on, that report was faulted to be not factual. And so one has to be very careful with this kind of report. Well, meanwhile, the newspapers are awash.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I mean, my attitude ordinarily would be, if this is a consistent pattern of the reports by Amnesty International, the reports will very well be ignored, and we go ahead with the prosecution of the war against the insurgents. Following all laid down procedures, the military have always insisted that their men and officers are guarded by the rules of engagement.
Yes,
the same Amnesty International. What reports are they bringing out in Iraq and Syria in the combined war against ISIS? Are we having reports by Amnesty International? Did we get Amnesty International report of what happened between Israel and Gaza? So the Nigerian military should proceed with this, and we find Amnesty has published its report, keep it in the cooler and face the insurgents and wrap them.
Amnesty International has over the years, remained a credible, global whistleblower, if you like, or watcher of infringements on human rights. But like Kingsley said, the consistency of certain reports emanating from AI, makes it even more disbelievable.
That's correct.
Right. Well, most of the papers are highlighting the rapidity with which 46 bills were passed in the Senate yesterday. Some reported it as 10 minutes, but what actually happened is that these bills had accumulated. The House of Representatives had passed all those bills, and the Senate was only waiting for what they call concurrence to pass those bills. And to formalize the procedure, they suspended Order 79 of their standing order rules and passed it. Two senators, however, objected to the voice vote for the passage of those bills, and the Senate president advised them to put their protest in writing at the valedictory session today. One of the laws...
industry bill among them?
No, I don't think so. One of the bills that was passed might... Claire, one of the bills that was passed will interest you. The bill is Sexual Offences Bill. It's passed now. If assented to, it will become law, and henceforth, anyone who indulges in rape, child sex, tourism, or deliberately infect innocent citizens with HIV/AIDS gets life imprisonment. Others are offenses of gang rape, gets life imprisonment. For incest, it's 10 years, and child pornography, 10 years, and a fine of 2 million. Yes, okay. I've gotten you a signal. The Flying Eagles, like the Phoenix, rose from the ashes. They demolished the North Koreans by 4 goals to nil. Kingsley, you recall, I told you that the team is a very good one. That's right. And I foresee them going very far. Meanwhile, at FIFA, some footballers are warming up to replace Sepp Blatter, who has given an indication that he will resign, because he only mentioned resignation. He even went to his office yesterday, and already Zico, a Brazilian, Kalusha Bwala, a South Africa, a Zambia former footballer, have all indicated their interest to go for the post. Also, David Schellmiller from France has also indicated his interest. However, the Jordanian FA has raised an interesting observation that their candidate, Ali bin Hussein, who was second, ought to be called upon to accede to the position of the president without necessarily calling for another extraordinary election.
Well, okay, Bayo, but that's incidentally the topic for our conversation this morning. We have a number of guests at multiple locations to discuss what's going on in FIFA, the politics of it, the legality of it, and of course the governance issues. What happens to FIFA? Will FIFA be the same again when all is settled in the meantime in terms of the prosecutions that probably will most likely follow the indictments?
You also highlight the interest of the Europe that is actually undermining football, particularly because if you look at the objections, 2018 has been awarded to Russia. The contestant was United Kingdom, they lost. 2022 awarded to Qatar, USA lost. And also 2010, if you recall, that has become a subject of inquiry now. USC contested and also lost.
That's right. Well, these are the issues that our guests will be examining in the course of this conversation. But we'd like to thank you again, and then, of course, to register the fact that the Senate probably set a record yesterday, 46 bills in 10 minutes, and then Amnesty International with its consistent disparagement of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces whenever they're having the upper hand against Boko Haram. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll begin discuss on the ongoings at FIFA.
Good morning, Nigeria. Across the nation, people are waking to a new dawn with a little something extra to help get them going. We call it Good Morning Nigeria. Every time you call for up to 3 straight minutes to any MTN number between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., you get a whopping 30 extra minutes free to continue talking on the same call. So go ahead, start the day right. It's the perfect reason to make all your long calls in the morning courtesy of Nigeria's leading brands: ARM, Coca-Cola, Jumia, Leadway Assurance, Mansard Insurance, and Samsung. Text GMN to 131 to opt in. Available only on MTN. No better way to start your day than Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
This is a mobile advertising initiative of Media Perspectives.
The body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection with added menthol to protect from germs. Cool gives you maximum protection against germs every day from head to toes and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol. Be 100% sure.
The Jumia Mobile Week Megathon is coming. Be a part of the biggest mobile sale ever. A marathon of mega deals. For 1 week and 1 week only, Jumia brings you deals of a lifetime with the world's hottest brands. Download the Jumia app and get access to deals hours before everyone else on the 1st of June. Jumia Mobile Week Megathon. To get the mega deals, sign up now on the Jumia app and on jumia.com.ng.
What happened? It was a mosquito. Oh! Oh! Daddy, here!
What's happening here?
Mama, mosquitoes!
I sprayed, but the mosquitoes aren't dying.
No longer. Because I've bought Motain Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Motain Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
Right, now, ever since the voting for the 2018 World Cup finals, FIFA has been reeling from allegations and counter-allegations of alleged corruption and bribery. Now, last week, the FBI indicted 14 officials and associates of the world's soccer governing body. Our sports correspondent, Musbah Odan-Wahab, here gives us a background to the integrity challenges of FIFA.
2015 FIFA Women's World Cup is set to commence in Canada at the weekend, just as soccer fans across the world are relishing the excitement being provided by the FIFA Under-20 tournament going on in New Zealand. But as organized as the competition seems to be, the governing body is unsettled, finding itself in troubled waters. It's all about this man who has been a subject of divided opinions. Sepp Blatter. While some smaller nations owe him a lot of gratitude for giving them opportunities, many believe he has been the head of a corrupt regime in the World Football's governing body, FIFA. Corruption allegations have been rocking the Blatter administration soon after its first inception as president in 1998. But none of those in the past has ever shaken up the body like this one, widely regarded the largest corruption scandal in the history of the World Football's governing body. Swiss prosecutors opened criminal proceedings into FIFA's award of the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. As part of an investigation that indicted 14 people, 7 top-ranking FIFA officials were arrested at a Swiss hotel last week pending extradition to the US in a separate probe of allegations of rampant, systematic and deep-rooted corruption.
They did this over and over, year after year, tournament after tournament.
But then, Blatter was not part of the allegation.
Actions of individuals, if proven, bring shame and humiliation on football and demand action and change from us all. We cannot allow the reputation of football and FIFA to be dragged through the mud any longer. It has to stop here and now.
Before then, however, there have been sectional calls for Sepp Blatter to leave the helm of affairs of FIFA, but the 79-year-old Swiss did not waver. UEFA President Michel Platini has been leading in the crusade against the reign of the Swiss.
I think he already lost. FIFA was already lost.
Despite the arrest and public outcry afterwards, the 65th Congress of the body held as scheduled and Blatter returned as FIFA president for the 5th term, 2 days in somewhat anticlimactic situation. It was after the withdrawal of the last man standing in the contest against Blatter, Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan, before the second round of election. However, that development was not as shocking as the bombshell Blatter dropped a few days after his emergence for the 5th term. He's said to leave the seat he vigorously contested for. His reason, the mandate he had been given, does not seem to be supported by everyone in the world.
What counts most to me is the institution FIFA and football around the world.
And even now, as the world awaits the outcome of the extraordinary Congress to decide Blatter's successor, whether he leaps from grace to grass is yet to be seen, as he is now under investigation by the American FBI.
Continue.
All right, many thanks, Musbao Dan Wahab, for that package. And joining us now, of course, to discuss the goings on with FIFA in our studio here in Abuja. I'd like to quickly introduce the list of guests we have. First is Austin Ngbolu, and Austin Ngbolu is former head of media in the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF. Thank you very much for joining us, Austin.
Thank you.
We also have here with us our own sports analyst. We call him in-house sports analyst, Mike Enahoro. It's a familiar face. Mike, thank you for coming as usual.
Very much. Good morning.
And then, of course, from Lagos Network Center, we have ex-international Segun Odegbami, and of course, for his mathematical calculations on the field of play, this gentleman was nicknamed Mathematical Odegbami by late veteran football commentator Ernest Okonkwo. Thank you very much for joining us, Segun. Thank you very much for joining.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right, and the list I have here ends with the Ibadan Network Center, and we have there Festus Onigbinde, Chief Festus Onigbinde, and he is FIFA technical instructor. Chief Onigbinde, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll have another guest in the course of the program. We're joining us from one of our other network centers. He's also an ex-international. Gentlemen, the stage is set for this conversation. Let's begin with Austin. What do you make of the travels, if we may so describe it, of FIFA? Did you see it coming?
Well, I saw it coming long ago. It's quite unfortunate that Blatter never read the signs, because it was obvious. Here is a man who joined FIFA establishment in his early 30s and was fortunate enough to mount the saddle and is seeking the 5th term still in office. For goodness sake, we have advocated that the system should be democratized. But unfortunately, what we succeeded in getting from FIFA is a situation whereby he's trying to make it a royal stool, have refused to quit. Apart from the fact that he's serving a long term, the issue of integrity has always been an issue, because FIFA appears to be a supranational organization whose membership cuts across federations and is beginning to equate himself over and above nations. Nations have rules, and the moment you breach some of the fundamentals, the tendency is that you run foul. We have been on the receiving end of activities of FIFA over the years. A situation whereby Nigerian football has been under severe intimidation. And we know that some of these underhand tactics are not democratic, they are not transparent, they are not open. You begin to wonder if this is the standard practice that was applicable all over the world. It is rather unfortunate that Blatter had to go down this way, but the truth remains that he contributed positively towards the growth of the game. But in doing that, it does appear he applied some unorthodox tactics that is not in sync with good governance.
Okay, let's get to Lagos, where mathematical Segun Odegbami is. I don't know if we could continue to refer you by that name. How mathematical are you now? And anyway, you listen to Mr. Austin Ngolu's expression, and I'm really surprised by his own feelings. He said it didn't come as a surprise. This is something that is, envisaged long ago. Now, for some people, this might appear to be good news, investigating corruption. But then, how good is it for Africa?
Well, thank you very much for having me. In terms of the game itself, the football that is played on the football field, no one can take away from Sepp Blatter the major contributions that he has made. But in terms of the game's administration, which is what this is all about anyway, and which we have had serious crisis in Nigeria over, I think it has been one of secrecy, one of a few people around the world turning the administration of football into something like a cabal, and they have become so powerful. In fact, the FIFA presidency is the most powerful office in the world. If it were not, people say politically the US president is the most powerful person on earth, but he has only 2 terms. But Sepp Blatter has consistently, the way he has behaved, ensure that he's untouchable. He makes it look as if he's untouchable. In 2011, he said when he was going to contest, and Issa Hayatou and the rest of them wanted to contest with him and withdrew, that was going to be his last election. And suddenly, this year, last year, he just came up and said he was going to contest again. And you have seen what happened. In January of this year, for those who read my columns in several newspapers, I wrote, and yesterday it was quoted in so many publications, how Sepp Blatter must be stopped. And immediately Jerome Champagne called me from Zurich, and he was interested in my thoughts about it. And after that also, I wrote another one that said, Sepp Blatter's legacy, he should leave now so that the world will remember him for the great things that he has done, rather than the corruption issue that has now enveloped the whole of football and is threatening to destroy it completely. So I agree with Austin Ngolu that Sepp Blatter overstayed his time. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. He had too much power, and it has affected the whole of football administration in the world. It is affecting football administration in my local government in Ewekoro. It is affecting it in Ogun State. I can tell you, the impunity with which the laws are flouted, it's just too much. And we just thank God. And I'm summarizing what is going on now as a wind of change that is blowing, not just across Nigeria, it's blowing across the whole of the football world. And I believe that after this is going to be a new dawn for football, because things cannot remain the same. The next man to go is Issa Hayatou. He has to go.
Mr. Segun Odegbami, well, of course, usually as a sports star, the prefix is usually deleted. So permit me to call you Segun Odegbami. Thank you for your perspective. But gentlemen, I would like us to sit with this, and maybe when we get our other guests, we can get into the legal niceties of all of this. What is happening is that Sepp Blatter himself has not been indicted, but some 14 officials and associates of FIFA have been indicted. Now, the FBI also said that it is not FIFA that is corrupt, but rather FIFA is a victim of corruption and graft, and that all of this is intended to save FIFA from its corrupt agents. That's why I'm saying that Sepp Blatter himself has not been indicted, but Segun Odegbabe and also Bolu, the points you have made are all very clear. I mean, if you want to topple a king, you go after his many subjects. Now, that takes us to our Ibadan Network Center, where Chief Festus Onigbinde was introduced earlier, a FIFA technical director who has had close interaction, not on the basis of these integrity challenges anyway, with Sepp Blatter. Chief Festus Onigbinde, what is your perception of Sepp Blatter? Yes, they say he loves football. Did he overstay his welcome, and did he overreach himself?
Well, thank you very much for having me on this program. I related with Sepp Blatter for about more than 20 years. I became a technical instructor in 1994 and rose to become a member of the technical committee, and we interacted very closely. I know that Sepp Blatter is a very intelligent man, very clever man, and I just want to cite an instance. He came into FIFA as head of technical department and rose to become the secretary of the organization, and that was when Joe Havelange was there. When Havelange was there as the president, the secretary, Blatter, was the executive secretary. Havelange was just more or less like a ceremonial president. But as soon as Havelange left, Sepp Blatter became the president, and he became an executive president, removing the power from the secretary. And people say that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I think that is what has happened to Blatter. Now, the power was becoming too much and too, self-centered, and he definitely has contributed a lot to development of football throughout the world, including Nigeria. And but that does not remove the fact that some of these things were not properly done, and that is why we're having what we're having. I suspected this will happen the moment the axe fell on people like my dear friend Jack Warner. I know they were very close and very intimate, and I knew that one of these days, talking yesterday, he was quoted to have said that when he heard that Blatter wanted to resign, he wrote a letter to him asking him to leave immediately. And then he went on, I'm quoting Blatter, Jack Warner now, Blatter knows why he fell, and if anybody knows, I do. They are very close, very, very close. And I having my fears for Blatter when Yakwana came under the hammer.
Let's get to Mike and Nahoro. Mike, if you recall, in 2018, 2022 bids, World Cup bids, US and England lost out. Now, some of those countries fingered in this whole scandal, including Russia, Qatar, and even South Africa, are crying, saying that, look, this is just mere racist, it's witch hunt, it's prejudice, and all that. And I'm wondering what you are thinking. Might there have been a mole in FIFA?
Well, it's not a question whether there's... Good morning, Nigeria, and to the distinguished gentlemen of the panel. It's not that there is a mole. Chuck Blazer was the first one who was the whistleblower. Secondly, he was offered a deal by the FBI to squeal, and you have the CONCACAF officials that have been arrested for transactions that have nothing to do directly with FIFA. Yes, there have been issues, and again, the Garcia report that a very renowned American prosecutor did for FIFA that was chopped up and bits of it were now handed over to the Swiss prosecutor, watered down significantly, that we do not actually know the extent of the Garcia report. If we could have looked at that Garcia report, the reform suggestions that were made in that Garcia report would have led to the kinds of reform that everyone is crying about right now. So it's not just sour grapes from England and the US that is already happening, but it's a combination and a culmination of a lot of things happening that have led to this point. So I see also from the sponsors, Coca-Cola, Nike, Budweiser, Visa, all American companies that have put in billions of dollars that have not received any kind of accountability report. It's again coming up to look at FIFA as the spotlight now goes directly to FIFA. So if you look at all of this, all of them coming together at once, it would just seem that countries like the US or England are crying sour grapes. Austin is right by saying the timing for all of this is happening at nation states and has nothing to do with FIFA, but nation states are now beginning to take action against organized type of situation. They find that FIFA is now intruding and impeding on their own national rights. So again, I don't think it's sour grapes. I just think a lot of the issues that we have had over the years unresolved, and FIFA's insistence not to look at them, have just led to this point that a lot of people are saying enough is enough.
Well, let's return to Segun Odegbami at our Lagos Network Center. I recall that you were involved in seeking to sell Nigeria's bid to host the 2010 World Cup, with the then Vice President Atiku Abubakar also lending his support. Now, the basis for all of these allegations, as we have said, against FIFA were triggered. The allegations were triggered by the 2018 World Cup in Russia and 2022 World Cup in Qatar, and allegations of vote rigging for the eventual hosts. What, in your from your experience, could have gone on and then also gone wrong with the voting for 2018 and 2022 that then triggered off all of these inquiries?
The truth is, we don't know, and we may never know until what is going on now, reveals itself to us. Because bidding to host the World Cup is such a complex issue that it would take the sort of thing going on now for us to understand it. I was just thinking about my meeting with Sepp Blatter shortly before Nigeria, now set out to bid for the 2010 World Cup. I remember Stephen Akiga, myself, Boyega Okegbe Nro, he's alive today. The three of us sat with Sepp Blatter in his office, and he was the one who actually initiated the thought that several African countries can come together to host the World Cup and that Nigeria could lead. I had told Stephen Akiga about that idea, West Africa hosting the World Cup at the time, and he was shocked that Sepp Blatter could even come up with the concept himself again at that conversation. He encouraged us to come home, to come and do what we did, and we came. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar just bought into the idea, General Obasanjo bought into the idea, and that was how we started. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, he was the one that was leading the campaign that there couldn't be a joint hosting. That went on and on and on and on. So anyway, that just confirms an integrity issue for me. The man who 2 weeks before told us something, and 2 weeks after is saying a different thing. So I wasn't surprised, even when he now came up and said he wanted to recontest again, after telling the whole world he was not going to contest. So the question of his integrity comes into it, unfortunately. But generally, hosting the World Cup, nobody understands it. It's a small cabal, and that's the revelation that we are all seeing now. It's coming out. South Africa 2010, we hear people bribed. Somebody had actually come out to say we actually collected bribe. We discussed amongst ourselves. I saw it this morning. Chuck Blazer, that's what he said. True, admitting this, it is terrible, I tell you. And we thank God for what is happening now.
Well, Segun, Claire, just before you pop the next question, just to follow up, Blazer, who, of course, is an American citizen, has already pleaded guilty to the indictment and is said to have refunded $1.9 million already. Blazer, Claire.
All right, let's get back to Chief Onigbinde in Ibadan. Chief, the common belief, especially within the African continent, is that Sepp Blatter himself has, helped to push African football even to the stage where it is today through some, development programs he initiated. We know of the Goals program that he initiated, which of course helped to improve sports infrastructure, not just in this this country, but in other lesser African countries. And we also know, of course, several other initiatives that Sepp Blatter has, of course, introduced. It was during his reign that Africa got the opportunity, of course, to have 5 nations play in the World Cup. This gives us the very infectious belief that without Sepp Blatter, Africa will continue to play football, but never wins, as a writer puts it.
Well, there is no doubt that Blatter has done a lot of work to develop football in the world, as I said earlier on, and particularly in Africa. He was behaving like as if he was an African, definitely interested in the development of football in Africa. But that was based on one fact, that the whole world knows that Africans are endowed with football talent, and how can we develop this? I remember on several occasions, Blatter would bring his program to the technical committee, would discuss, and eventually arrive at something that will move Nigerian football forward. But that is just one aspect of it, development. There are other aspects which are now coming on. What you do is one thing. How you went out to do what you did is another thing entirely. And that is where we're having the problem. I was happy that Segun Odegbami came up with what he said about Blatter making one statement today and tomorrow changing it to another thing. That's most unfortunate. That is where question of credibility comes in. And in fact, in the execution of the technical programs, are we really being objective? Are we really being practical? Are we really being realistic about some of these things we are coming out with? I know Blatter introduced a lot of technical assistance programs to all member nations. Right now, FIFA has about 209 member nations, and each one of them is exposed or is entitled to apply for some of these projects. So if some countries are not utilizing these facilities, you cannot blame Blatter for that. But the fact is, how do you get into these facilities, development programs and other support programs that Blatter introduced? The problem now is, how do countries get all these facilities approved for them? And that is where this question of credibility comes in. And that's most unfortunate. And I think this is better handled by people who are in the legal profession, who will probably be. We are reacting to what we read in the newspapers and international media. And if this type of situation is not, if it is not checked now, FIFA is becoming another thing entirely. And I appreciate what somebody said earlier on. It is not FIFA that is the problem, but the individuals that are involved that are causing the problem. FIFA has its own statutes, and in the statutes, under objectives, the first sentence reads, to develop the game of football constantly, to develop. And that is why Blatter had concentrated on development. But unfortunately, the execution of these programs is another thing entirely.
Well, Chief Sasonigbide, thank you there for your contribution from Ibadan Network Center. Austin Umbolo, let's return to you. We're not discussing, as it were, the full legacy of Sir Blatter, now that he's been toppled from the royal stool that he occupied. Africa today has 5 spots on the World Cup on the 32-team format, which wasn't the case many decades ago. I mean, Segun Odegbami himself played in some of the qualification matches when Africa had barely two slots. But let's take a look at this. Now, if Blatter, if his reign, comes to an end in the catastrophic manner that we're likely to see, what will become of FIFA?
Well, I think what will become of FIFA is simply based on the decisions that are taken before the elections that are scheduled to hold. Don't forget that before now there have been various bodies contending and contesting for the leadership of the organization. And they have been able to articulate their programs and their plans. It is rather unfortunate that an organization such as UEFA is more or less not toeing the line that was established before somebody like Michel Platini came on board. I remember when Leonard Janssen was the president of UEFA. We have this symbiotic relationship between Africa and Europe, whereby things like the Meridian Cup used to be the order of the day to promote youth competitions, all designed to complement what FIFA was doing in Africa. I'm looking at a situation whereby Africa and Europe could partner to really bring about somebody who can really champion the growth of the game like Blatter has done. But the underlying fact remains that the issue of integrity has to be enshrined in the statute. We need to re-examine the statute, make it compliant with what is practicable. A situation whereby FIFA has the dictatorial right to really determine what happens in member federation at will, without recourse to anything. Don't forget that issues of FIFA in third world countries, don't challenge them. You don't even go to court. If you go to court, you are slammed. Majority of us are worried now what is happening because it is a complete breach of the sacrosanct status we were told cannot be questioned by anybody.
Tampered with, yes. Well, Austin, what you have just raised now, you know, verges on law. And one of our other guests, of course, is a lawyer. He'll be joining us from our Port Harcourt Network Center, also a soccer player, and they will engage him on some of these legal aspects. But you recall that because of your visits to this program, we had always discussed why it would appear that every time, you know, FIFA sneezed, you know, NFF and even the Nigerian authorities tended to back off from whatever they were doing. Thank you for your contribution. Mike Enahoro,
Yes,
I was just going to ask Mike Enahoro. Mike, you made an important point in your contribution earlier. You talked about some of the sponsors who, you know, probably were peeved, you know, by what transpired in terms of the bidding for 2018 and 2022. Is this an economic war that is being masqueraded, that's masqueraded as an integrity challenge or an affront on integrity issues by FIFA? And if it is an economic war, what then is likely to happen? Again, the same question I asked Austin Ugbolo. What are we likely to see in the aftermath of Sepp Blatter? Are we going to see FIFA as we know it today?
A lot of us forget that FIFA has been around for a century and some decades. The organization would outlive all of us, I think. It is time for reforms, and the organization has to come up to the 21st century. What I think would change the most would be the sponsors and the commercial partners will begin to exercise a bit more rights. It's not just going to be a one-way street where they see FIFA and the World Cup and all the international football tournaments as being a platform to jump and get commercial revenue and commercial growth from. Association with FIFA will now demand a two-way street, whereby transparency for every dollar put into FIFA would now demand that you make a report back to FIFA how that money was spent and what it was spent on. So you now have an organization that has $1.5 billion in reserves and declared between the years of 2011 and 2014 a $330 million in profit. Everybody forgets that FIFA is a non-profit organization. So it's the biggest and the most profitable NGO in the world. So commercial partners will begin to now insist on knowing a bit more where their money and their dollars will go to. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest reforms. If we want to keep these people happy, we would have to tell them a bit more what we do with their funding. So again, I think that's going to be one of the quick wins that FIFA can put on the table right now to placate both the United Kingdom, the United States, and all other international partners that are involved in the game of football.
Thank you, Mike. Let's get to Lagos. Shago, it's usually rare that you find members of an institution or a body, you know, involved in this kind of scandal, and the head gets exonerated. But that's my opinion. Now, undoubtedly, we know that Sepp Blatter is a friend of Africa and indeed Asian nations and some other nations categorized as lesser nations in the football field. Now, in the event of an ouster of Blatter, what becomes of African football and indeed Asian football?
Well, on the surface, it looks like Blatter is the friend of Africa, but the reverse really is the case. What happened is that Blatter used Africa, used Asia to cement his hold on global football. Between Asia and Africa, you have, the largest concentration of, people that have this poverty mentality. You see, you have people that if you give them a little, they will just do your bidding straight away. And he has used these numbers to sustain himself and, get this stranglehold over FIFA through the years. So I think that for Africa to have had 5 places in the World Cup is not because Sepp Blatter, loves Africa. It is because Africa, deserved it, earned the right. Performances through the years that he brought the World Cup to Africa is not because he loves Africa. It is because Africa worked for it and deserved it. The World Cup would have gone round anyway at one point or the other. And coming to Africa, he used it to retain his position in 2010. So Sepp Blatter has used us, but that's fine. We also have gained from him. That's fine. But right now, we think he has established a system that is corrupt, a system that treats the law with impunity, a system that disregards nations, a system that continues to fester what I just told you, what is even going on here in Nigeria. If you look at the world generally, you're talking about football, for God's sake. This is a game that drives on the players. It is a game that survives on the followership of supporters. These two groups are not represented anywhere in FIFA. Sepp Blatter didn't play football. Hayatou didn't play football. Look at our own environment. You find that those who are in control of the game of football, the most powerful tool for development in this world, when you realize it, are not even footballers. The game continues to develop. The administration does not develop. We need to get the stakeholders into the game of football. And that's why I liked what Sepp Blatter himself said. Why he resigned. He said, yes, his people supported him, but those that he did not endorse him, the players, the clubs, the supporters, the fans, he said those things. And because of them, he was resigning. I don't know whether that is true or not. But in the reforms that we are talking about, these are the people that should be in the forefront of change, because we understand the sensibilities of the game, we understand what it takes to be in the game, we generate all the funds and all the followership, 4 billion around the world, so why should we not be part of the action? So that's why I like what is going on. Figo has raised his head, Kalusha Bwala has raised his head. Maybe I'm going to raise my head that I want to be the next president of FIFA.
Well, I was coming to ask you that if this latest saga might open the doors, of course, to real football players like you.
I strongly believe that something is going on in the world. We're in the 21st century, and Enahoro said it well. FIFA has to join us in the 21st century. Nigeria has to join in the 21st century. Things are changing, and at the rate things are changing, I believe that the legacy Sepp Blatter would leave for the world is that after having served the game for 41 years, he doesn't want to go out the way it appears he's going to go out. He still has 6, 7, 8 more months before he finally departs. That's why he wants to be part of that change of who the people that will come in, the reforms that will take place in FIFA. He's a very clever man. He knows what is best for the game. I tell you, he does. He is going to influence the kind of change that would make that organization and the game of football a lot better going forward. I believe that's the legacy he will want to do, and so he will do right this time in order to save his name. If that happens, people like us will have a chance where FIFA does not determine who becomes the next president of the Nigeria Football Federation, does not treat our laws with, as I said before, impunity, where even the Nigerian government couldn't do anything. They were handicapped because one body somewhere that didn't know what we were doing, didn't respect our laws, would just say, it is this. And once he says it is this, that's what happens, unfortunately.
Thank you very much there for your perspective. I thought you were going to at some point get back to the first salvo you gave, that namely Issa Hayatou of CAF must also go. But that's a point you can always come back to in the course of this conversation. Let me ask the next question now of Chief Onigbinde at our Ibadan Network Center. Segun Odegbami listed a number of stakeholders, but of course we'll have to include among those stakeholders the coaches, the technical crew. And you have had experience, broad-ranging experience. Let's put it this way. What are the lessons for us as a national body, and what are the lessons for us, as a continental body? In other words, in terms of governance and integrity, what can we begin to learn straight away, or how can we begin to also hammer those persons who perhaps have not behaved well?
Well, Segun said a few things which actually taught my mind. And one of them was the question of how people get into positions of control of our football. There are various categories of stakeholders, and because of what Segun said, that whether Blatter loves Africa or not, that's something that is personal. But on the surface, we believe he was working for the development of football in Africa. But the major reason given by Segun was that Africa controls about 1/4 of the membership of FIFA. We have more than 50 members among the member nations of FIFA. And because you will be looking forward, Blatter will be looking forward to the next election, and so he want to placate, and that is why a lot of misnomers have been overlooked by FIFA, particularly in Nigeria. Let me cite Nigeria as an example. By FIFA regulation, by FIFA statutes, Nigeria does not today have a single football club, and this has been ignored by FIFA for a long time, and that is why we are having the type of problem we are having. That is why you get different categories of people running our football, because in FIFA statutes, I think Article 17 says that any football body, including the clubs, must be independent, must be able to take care of their affairs without interference from a third party. Most of our clubs today, if not all of them, maybe with the exemption of 2 or 3, are being run by the government. This interference by a third party. And this is because we are not running the clubs as clubs. If I ask you today who are the members of the Rangers Football Club, you'll be mentioning names of players and coaches. These are employees. What of the club? We all know what a club is. A group of people coming together to establish an organization for their common interests. Who will appoint a chairman or secretary for them? Of course, they hold their election. In fact, in FIFA statutes, there is a clause which says that the governing board or the governing body of any football organization must be democratically elected. When last was an election held into the board of Shooting Stars Football Club, Rangers and Kano Pillars and so on and so forth? Most of these clubs are parastatals. They are not clubs. We all know what a club is. And the effect is this. When you throw this in to external bodies to decide who and who will run football, then you have different shades of characters. While campaigning for governorship position, a friend helped me, and at the end of the day, how do I compensate my friend? The football becomes a dumping ground. Okay, you go there and there. We have series of these examples in Nigeria, and that is why care is not taken to involve the actual actors. The actual actors in football, like footballers, like coaches, and so on and so forth, they have been relegated to the background. And this is one of the problems we are having, emanating from FIFA. Before FIFA ignores some of these lapses because they want to cut the friendship of some of these people who are in position. And it's unfortunate. And we just have to rise up and do something that will actually give us the real thing we want from football. And on the question of what happens after Blatter must have left, I think that will depend on the character of people who come into FIFA, in which case there must be a restructuring. Even the regulations guiding entry into FIFA must be reorganized, and so that we have the right people handling our football. We have series of examples. People who actually shouldn't have been allowed to watch football with their money, but controlling football, managing football, running football, and of course, to the extent of their knowledge and experience in football matters. It's unfortunate, and all these things have to change.
All right, Chief Festus Ondigbinde, FIFA technical instructor. We'd really like to thank you for sharing your wealth of experience with us on the program this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on the program.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. We'll take a short break, gentlemen. When we come back, of course, we will be introducing our next guest from the Port Harcourt Network Center.
Good morning, Nigeria. Across the nation, people are waking to a new dawn with a little something extra to help get them going. We call it Good Morning Nigeria. Every time you call for up to 3 straight minutes to any MTN number between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. every day, you get a whopping 30 extra minutes free to continue talking on the same call. So go ahead, start your day right. It's the perfect reason to make all your long calls in the morning, courtesy of Nigeria's leading brands: ARM, Coca-Cola, Jumia, Leadway Assurance, Mansard Insurance, and Samsung. Text GMN to 131 to opt in. Available only on MTN. No better way to start your day than Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
This is a mobile advertising initiative of Media Perspectives.
Yes, Hotel The Horizon has rebranded with upgrade of their facilities. Guests and visitors to Hotel The Horizon are certainly in for an amazing good time. Located in a very serene environment with a crop of well-trained personnel, Hotel The Horizon has tastefully and exquisitely furnished rooms and suites. Host your events at our fully air-conditioned, multi-purpose, pillar-free banquet hall. Enjoy our exclusive continental and national delicacies. Have relaxing moments at our state-of-the-art Fijat poolside bar and grill, opened 24 hours daily. Let us take the stress off you. Take advantage of our excellent outdoor catering services for all your events. Hotel The Horizon, situated at Plot 5, Candy Close, Wusetu, Abuja.
A hectic lifestyle or overeating can cause a burning pain in your chest. That's heartburn. Take Gaviscon. One dose relieves in 3 minutes to soothe the pain of heartburn. It goes straight to the source to work for hours, providing long-lasting relief.
That's why I recommend Gaviscon.
I recommend Gaviscon. Gaviscon, fast relief you can actually feel.
If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor.
All right, thank you for rejoining us. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria if you've just joined us, and we're looking at the saga going on, of course, with the World Football Governing Body, FIFA. And I'd like to introduce and welcome our guest from the Port Harcourt Center, and this is another ex-international and a former Attorney General of Rivers State Ministry of Justice, the man popularly known as Justice Adokie Amasemeka. Thank you for joining us, Justice.
Good morning, Nigeria. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we have been discussing this issue. We have Austin Mbolu and Mike here with us. Chief Ondigbinde has just left from the Badon Center. I know back then when I was growing up, I could hear, when late Christian Awuzie or Ernest Okonkwo ran the commentaries. You will hear Kingsley things like, oh, he steps on the ball, he moves, he looks left, he looks right. Where does he pass it to? What does he do with the ball? He goes, and it's a goal. Justice Adokie Amasemeka. He's very interesting, very lively. Justice, how do you feel with what is going on now with FIFA?
The legs are no longer there, I can assure you. After those vicious tackles and malicious kicks, I tell you, one is beginning to feel the aches. But then it was quite an experience, and I'm particularly honored to have had the privilege to represent my country.
At the moment with FIFA, some of those countries, fingered in the scandal, in the bribery, racketeering, and fraud scandal, including South Africa, abroad, and of course, brothers, Russia and Qatar. are saying, look, this is witch hunt, this is prejudice, this is racist. What are you thinking about what is going on?
Come on, all that talk about racism and prejudice is just absolute rubbish. Absolutely. Let's look at the substance now. You know, let's not let some of these miscreants, with due respect to them, take us back to the bad old days. The truth of the matter is that FIFA has been reputed to be a very corrupt body. There's no doubt about it. Let's not joke with that fact. It's been a very corrupt body. And I tell you, you know, so much has been said about Blatter being an innocent leader. Blatter could very well be the most corrupt of them all. He's been at the helm of affairs for 17 years, and he cannot claim not to have known what was happening. He cannot claim not to have been a party to what has been happening. And let's not forget, and my former teammate and friend, there seems to be some telepathy here. He hit the nail on the head. Blatter used Africa. Blatter used CONCACAF. Blatter used Asia to solidify his position. CAF under Issa Hayatou has about 54 member national associations. Let me make that point. FIFA hasn't got member nations, but member national associations. FIFA doesn't necessarily reckon with individual countries, but they're national associations. So having made that point, I think we must be clear about where we stand now. The investigations have nothing to do with FIFA interfering in the way national associations are run. The investigations have everything to do with the way FIFA itself is run, with the corruption within FIFA, corruption of the FIFA officials, the executive members. So let's get that straight. Now, it is true that Africa, we have 5 slots, yes, but is that really the important thing? What if Africa had every member national association participating in the World Cup? Would we say that's an improvement? I don't think so. In fact, I think it's taken us back. So many of our member national associations are in the World Cup to participate in what they see as a jamboree. They are not motivated to improve and develop their national associations and football in their respective countries, because they feel, okay, we're going to participate in the World Cup, so why bother? We've already arrived. So I want to take a different view. Sepp Blatter, yes, on paper, he would seem to have done a lot for Africa, but I think the motive behind all that, just to cement his position as head of this cabal, as Odegmami called it, this cabal that has actually dragged our football back. Now, let me go on to make this point. FIFA itself is not created by law. FIFA has its headquarters in Switzerland, yes. FIFA has not been created by law, but is recognized by Swiss law. FIFA is an NGO, an international NGO, the richest of them all. FIFA has been incorporated in the company register of Switzerland under Article 60 FF of the Swiss Civil Code. So FIFA is recognized by Swiss law. FIFA is subject to Swiss law, but FIFA is not created by Swiss law. Now, how does that impact on us here? And that is where the fraud I want to talk about starts. We do not have a football governing body in Nigeria as we speak. We don't. It's a fraud. The so-called NFF does not exist. Its Article 1 says it's a private body that is being run in accordance with the laws of this country, which we all know is not true. Now, Sepp Blatter's FIFA condones that because, as I said, he needs Nigeria and other African countries to keep his position. What we need to do to have a proper football governing body in Nigeria, what we need to do is, just as FIFA has done in Switzerland, is to incorporate this body we say is NFF, incorporate it under Part C of the Companies and Allied Matters Act as a Corporate Affairs Commission. And then file FIFA-approved statutes as our articles and memorandum of association. That's what we need to do. In that case, we would not be created by an act of the National Assembly, which is wrong. We would be recognized by Nigerian law as any duly incorporated body would be. That is the point that we seem to be making a lot of mistake about. So we do not even have, we are talking about FIFA. Let us talk about NFF. Let us talk about Nigeria. We do not have a football governing body in Nigeria because there is none that has been so properly incorporated. Not talking about so-called NFF Act, NFA Act. No, that's not it. And that's why we've been having challenges with FIFA. We must make this point now that the question of FIFA's integrity and all that come into fore. FIFA would not listen to you if you're not a member of this so-called NFF that does not exist. Because Blatter's FIFA is gaining from the fact that this so-called NFF would take its money and government's money and do whatever it likes with it, and nobody here can ask any question. You see, these are details, technical details, that we must come to terms with. So while we're talking about FIFA, let's also talk about our so-called NFF. Let that be our starting point. So to answer your question directly, I know there are other questions that are going to be asked. To answer your question directly, these are so-called member national associations that are crying wolf, that are crying racism, that are crying prejudice. No. I think they have a lot to hide. That's why they're doing that. And I commend the FBI and the Swiss government for the investigation going on.
Just to add to what my colleague Claire said in his introduction of Barrister Adokia Masemeka, actually the appellation by Ernest Okonkwo was Chief Justice Adokia Masemeka, and it was always in quotes. And for the benefit of our younger viewers, Adokia Masemeka was playing the left wing, that was number 11, and Segun Odegbame was playing what you call outside right, number 7, and they were both teammates, and 35 years ago in 1980, they were members of the victorious Green Eagles that for the first time won the Cup of Nations in Lagos. Segun Odegbame opened scoring for us against Algeria in the final match. Well, but the next question, we're still sticking with Chief Justice Adokia Masemeka, and this also relates to what probably has been happening at the NFF and also at CAF. Incidentally, you've touched on what the FBI has done. It was, shall I say, almost unthinkable that any national judicial institution would move against FIFA because of the perception that FIFA was a supranational, supranational institution. But here we are, the FBI has now relied on RICO, that is the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act that was designed originally to deal with the mafia, and they used it effectively in 1986 in bringing down some of the big bosses of the mafia in the US. Now, two key points have emerged from their indictments, namely that they have proceeded to indict these 14 officials and associates of FIFA because the monies that were allegedly received by these persons in the corrupt enterprise that they ran under FIFA, not FIFA itself, those monies went through the American financial system, in this case, New York. It was also said that, yes, they had meetings in New York, and therefore the conspiracy was also committed on American soil. In terms of wire transfers for fraudulent transactions relating to FIFA, bribes and so on and so forth, what lessons can we learn from this in terms of also following up and cleaning up our integrity challenged associations on the African continent?
That's the point I was making. You know, it's a big fraud for a body that does not exist and calls itself the football governing body of Nigeria, in this case now the NFF, to say, oh, we are beyond reproach, government cannot do this, we can't be investigating. It's a big fraud. Now, how it should happen is this, and that is what is not happening. That is what is not happening. We should be properly incorporated. That's the football governing body. So it to be subject to Nigerian law, not created by Nigerian law. Properly incorporated, as I said, under Part C of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Now, once that is done, and your articles and memo of association are properly registered, you know, we now know the details of what you're about, what you can do, what you cannot do, and all that under Nigerian law, but not created by Nigerian law. Now, what the FBI has done is this, and that's the similar thing that the Swiss government has done. FIFA is subject to law. FIFA is subject to Swiss law. Now, Switzerland has for some time given FIFA a lot of leeway. And as we know, Switzerland seems to be the haven of so many international organizations. To get them to come to Switzerland and be headquartered in Switzerland, FIFA gives certain concessions, makes certain concessions. But when push gets to it, as they say, when move a little gets to push, the Swiss government takes action. Now, if there is evidence of criminality in Switzerland, FIFA will take action. If there's evidence of criminality in the United States, the US government will take action. If there's evidence of criminality in Nigeria, our government should take action. But first and foremost, is the body purportedly running our football duly registered, duly incorporated? It is not. Now, these persons that are purporting to run our football are aware of this. And they know that FIFA will only listen to them. FIFA won't listen to any so-called third party. And with a third party, if your role is not captured within the statutes of the football governing body. So all you need to do not to be a third party is for your role to be encapsulated in the statutes of the football governing body. That we have deliberately refused to do, despite several warnings to that effect. We have refused to do that. So the lesson we can learn from this is this. FIFA, and by implication, its affiliated member national associations are all subject to law. But to get that properly done, you need to do the fundamental. Get the various member national associations properly incorporated in their respective countries. That will make them properly subject to national law. The situation in Nigeria is even worse, because not only is the so-called NFF not duly incorporated, it's even existing on government subvention. Statutory allocation of funds. Monthly, every month, we break the law by giving this body that does not exist government funds, public funds. So, as I said, we shouldn't just talk about FIFA alone. There's a lot that is wrong with FIFA, and it will never be the same again. After the investigations, ongoing investigations, it will never be the same again. And the good thing about it is, with Sepp Blatter out of the way, with a reformed football governing body, international football governing body, our football governing body in Nigeria will be a more responsible one. What we have now is absolutely reckless and irresponsible, and we do not need that.
Justice Dokia Amasemeka, Chief Justice Dokia Amasemeka, I would never forget that. I always love to listen to Ernest Okonkwo and Christina Ozie on commentary box. All right, let's get back to Segun in, of course, Lagos Network Center. Segun, FBI spokesperson said that they had uncovered, and we're quoting him, a World Cup of fraud, and of course has gone ahead to issue FIFA a red card. And the U.S. Attorney General, we understand, one Loretta Lynch or so, said that this is a fraud that has been going on over and over, again and again, year after year, tournament after tournament, by way of soliciting bribes to award media and marketing rights, host of tournaments, and particularly, if you recall, South Africa, of course, has been accused of granting Jack Warner $10 million. So, what impact do you think this might have on the popularity of the game globally?
Well, 4 billion people who have this fixation on the game, who love the game, who follow the game passionately, are not wrong to love the game. It has nothing to do with the administration, with fraud, and so on and so forth. Football is just a beautiful game, which is truly immune from all of the vagrancies of life generally. People just love the game. It is the administration, again, that has been the problem. The organization, the associations, the marketing of the events, and blah, 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 blah. But the game itself will continue to thrive. In fact, Tony Blair said it, Bill Clinton said it, Nelson Mandela said it, that when the world finally appreciates the power of football, on the world will be unleashed the most powerful tool ever seen by mankind. I tell you, when you have 4 billion people who are not distracted by, who are not divided by anything, who just love and come around this thing, and you can utilize the power of that thing. There's no such force in the world. No, even religion comes second to the power of football. So, in that regard, football, I think, would continue to thrive. But the other side of it, just as you mentioned, the organization, the marketing and all of that, those are the things that will change. And I believe very firmly that this wind of change is coming at the right time only. Everybody knew before that FIFA was corrupt. People who, we have said it over and over again, even in Nigeria, just go to any football match in Nigeria, there's corruption there. You know, blatantly, look at the elections, corruption everywhere, and Nigeria is just a microcosm of what happens in other places and other spheres. So that FIFA is corrupt has always been known, but why is it coming at this time? I think it is some kind of divine intervention, and we must not cross it. We must take away from it. It is a big disappointment that has a blessing. And so from now onwards, we will focus on the blessing. What are the things we can take out of it to reform the game, to make football that tool that can influence our education, influence the economy, influence social infrastructural development, influence our science, influence so many other things in life. Football has the power to do all of that. The timing now for what is going on, I think, is just perfect. So let us bless it, let us embrace it, and now do the reforms that will make football that tool that it can really be to change the world.
Okay, thank you very much there, mathematical Segun Odegbami, for your contributions. Of course, Segun Odegbami at some point was the captain of the national team. Let's come back to our Abuja studios, where we also have Austin Ongbolu. Austin Ongbolu, of course, was a media chief at the NFF. You've listened to Barrister Doke Amesebeke and, in fact, the other contributors, and they say, this is a blessing. That's the contribution, bottom line. This is a blessing. What are, for you, the takeaway lessons from this blessing for our NFF, troubled as it is?
Well, the blessings are so many. So many, starting from the fact that Nigerian football, at least for once, will get a breathing space. We have operated as if the big brother is watching us. Every move made in Nigeria towards enthroning integrity has always been frustrated with active connivance with FIFA officials. I remember vividly during the reign of Galadima as the chairman of Nigerian Football Association then, elections were conducted that were sanctioned by FIFA. But the moment moves were made by the opposing party, we discovered that FIFA somersaulted. And there was a somersaulting policy of which that particular election was annulled and another election held contrary to what the statutes or the rules of FIFA specified. Over and over again, we have witnessed more FIFA visitation to Nigeria than any other nation. When we were about to host a competition, it's under 21 or so, we remember the several visits made by somebody like Jack Warner, where he ended up condemning Nigeria, only to make a volte-face to describe Nigeria as the eighth wonder of the world. You begin to wonder what informed some of these decisions, if not for the same tradition whereby bills are given to nations that intends to host, and if you don't play ball, they automatically, through the back door, they withdraw the hosting rights, and things will be messed up. So what we are seeing is that we are going to benefit as a nation because we will put our house in order. And we will now revisit the issue of status to recognize the place of government in the affairs of our federation. The general saying that he that pays the piper dictates the tune must be applicable, except the federation is willing and able to fund itself. Okay. In any case, we can only do this if we eliminate things like corruption and other vices.
All right, thank you, Austin Mbulu. Mike, is there any likelihood that the bid process, which produced, of course, Qatar and Russia as the host for 2018 and 2022 World Cup, be reconducted?
No, I don't think so. We will just have to live with the decisions of FIFA. If we really want FIFA to remain integral and keep its leadership of international and world football. I think we should respect that 2018 and 2022 should stand. But we should change football. This is what happens when you pay lip service to reforms. Reforms will catch up with you whether you like it or not. The wind of change will blow, people will get frustrated, and actions will be taken contrary to the status quo. So for me, 2018 and 2022 will be World Cups that will happen, but the game would have changed significantly by the time we kick the first ball in world football. So again, whether bribes were paid or not, the reality would unfold in the next coming days and months. But the honoring of those dates and those selections would remain. How we would compensate people who have invested and truly come out and put their best bid forward, world football and football house, as my older brother Segun Odegbami has said, we would have to put our 4 billion supporters into the scheme of things and listen to them a bit more. So I think football in itself will change. African football needs to change because, again, that is more closer to the constituency that we live in, and Chief Justice has clearly just read my mind and said exactly what should happen. But in all respect, I think 2018 and 2022 decisions that have been made will be respected, but the way football will be played from here on out would be quite different.
Mike, very quickly now, because we're wrapping this up. We've talked about the lessons that the NFF, that's the Nigerian Association, can learn from this. What of CAF?
CAF is the first institution that will be changed by what is happening in FIFA. Issa Hayatou has stayed in that seat as long as Sepp Blatter. And if anything touches Jack Warner, touches Sepp Blatter, I don't see how Issa Hayatou can not rub himself in the same mud that those two gentlemen have been dancing with. CAF, you would hear some very interesting stories coming in the next days and months.
Okay. On that note,
I think before we go, let the gentleman, just a last word here. What are your comments on the victory this morning? You know, of course, we know that our boys did us proud this morning against their Korean counterparts. Let's start with Segun Odegbami in Lagos.
You can always trust the Nigerian footballer to deliver. We've always delivered and trust us to continue to deliver. But just one word on the CAF thing. Issa Hayatou must go. And we are going to do everything that we possibly can to join those who want Issa Hayatou and the cabal around him in the Confederation of African football to go. Once that happens, African football will make progress.
Ex-international Segun Odegbami, we're really delighted to have you as part of our programs today. Thank you.
Thank you very much too for having me.
Next, we return to Port Harcourt. Chief Justice Adoke Emesemeka, what are your thoughts about the victory this morning?
Very quickly, apart from the Chief Justice appellation, I'm actually a traditional chief. Having said that, I'll say congratulations, Nigeria. You know, we've always excelled at the age grade level, and that also raises questions. When it comes to transiting to the senior team, we've had inexplicable challenges. So maybe that also raises questions about the integrity and credibility of our age grade teams. But then I would say, officially, congratulations.
Okay. Well, Claire, just hold on. Not just Chief Justice. It was also nicknamed then Snake Hips, you know, because of his dribbling skills. I'm sure he remembers that. Barrister Chief Adoke Emesemeka, who also played for Enugu Rangers, would like to thank you for being with us on the program this morning.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you so very much for having me.
And then also would like to thank with us here at the Abuja studios. First, Mr. Austin Umbolu, thank you for being with us.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay, and then also Mike Enahoro, your regular sports analyst on this program. Thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Claire, I was just going to say, I didn't want to say this. When Segun Odegbami was captain of the Green Eagles in 1983, they played one of the qualification matches, I can't quite remember the competition now, against Uganda at the Ogbe Stadium, 1983. Late Wilfred Agbonaware was in goal, and then Segun Odegbami was captain. I had the privilege of being a commentator in that match.
That's nice. That's interesting to hear. Kingsley, there's one particular match, or that I would never forget in my life, and that's the match between I think it was Rangers International and the Police of Senegal. After heavy rainfall, fruitless efforts by, of course, our team, something was discovered at the goalpost, and then I think after that the Rangers went on to win that match 2-1. So who says there isn't? There isn't
that stuff.
There isn't that stuff. All right.
So we'll take a short break now before we call it a day on the program.
Good morning, Nigeria. Across the nation, people are waking to a new dawn with a little something extra to help get them going. We call it Good Morning Nigeria. Every time you call for up to 3 straight minutes to any MTN number between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. every day, you get a whopping 30 extra minutes free to continue talking on the same call. So go ahead, start your day right. It's the perfect reason to make all your long calls in the morning courtesy of Nigeria's leading brands: ARM, Coca-Cola, Jumia, Leadway Assurance, Mansard Insurance, and Samsung. Text GMN to 131 to opt in. Available only on MTN. No better way to start your day than Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
This is a mobile advertising initiative of Media Perspectives.
Do you know that you are exposed to up to 100 illness-causing germs every day?
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on my Dettol to fight germs. It's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. My Dettol disinfects surfaces and clothes, keeping them clean and safe from germs.
What happened? It was a mosquito. Oh! Daddy, here!
What's happening here?
Mama, mosquitoes.
I sprayed, but the mosquitoes aren't dying.
No longer, because I've bought Motain Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Motain Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
All right, we thank you for watching Good Morning Nigeria today, Thursday. And I also like to, on behalf of the crew, appreciate all our distinguished guests for providing an invaluable insight into the whole FIFA saga. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak. Do have a very, very pleasant day.
Well, on that note, Ernest Okonkwo used to say, we turn you to our broadcasting house
in the Lagos.
Well, on this note, this morning, we'll return you to our regular program. My name is Kingsley Osadola. We thank our team of engineers, the producer and director, and everybody. Do have a lovely day. And Good Morning Nigeria. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning.